Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Service Delivery Bus. Great to have your faces in front of me. Not a huge agenda today, and then we're breaking and having some public excluded workshops, so that is good. I have an apology from the Mayor today. I think everybody else is on board. I'm happy to move that apology in a second, please. Just put your hand up. Thank you, Bruce. All those in favour say aye.
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 Okay. Disclosure of members' interest. Mike, I don't think the one you talked about is my agenda, so we'll let that one slide. Yeah, thank you. No conflicts there. Late items. Now, as yesterday morning, I received an email from Liz regarding, it came from Ange and Chris, and I would like that to be part of this conversation of the CCTV. But I realise that probably not many of you have seen it, thinking, Liz, it's spread it far and wide. Do I understand what they're talking about, or no?
No.
So it's been copied to Brian, and this morning to Dawn. It may be valuable, I don't know. I'm not a techno person. All the things I've got in it are beyond me. Dawn, did you want to what did you want to do with it? Just add additional, what do you think?
I think we have that item on the agenda regarding the CCTV, and I think Mr. Hudson's online to present that item, and that we can invite him to provide some feedback in terms of the content of that letter. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so can we allow that? Do we want a resolution for that to be allowed as additional? No, just leave it as part of the conversation. Thank you.
Graham.
Confirmation of the order of meeting.
Kia ora, Graham.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, who's talking?
Bill.
Oh, Bill, sorry.
That's all right. I just wonder if the letter's going to be talked to, is it able to be shared on screen, Dawn?
I'll just step in here. So look, Ange just
Thanks,
had
Liz.
some comment. Yeah, Ange just had some comments in her role as community board member. It can be discussed as part of the item. It's, from my point of view, Bill, it's very
okay.
technical.
Yeah, I'm okay on it being discussed, but I did wonder whether we should have at least seen the communication.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's going to be discussed.
Yeah, look, I haven't got permission from Ange to do that. It was just some comments that she wanted to have discussed as part of that item. So, yeah.
Confirmation of the order of meeting, please move in the seconder. I think it stands as is. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Roger. All those in favour, hand up. Thank you.
Aye.
Confirmation of the open minutes of the unconfirmed minutes on the 21st of September. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Everybody happy with those minutes? Thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder that we confirm those?
Move.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Lou. All those in favour, hand up. Say aye. Thank you.
Aye.
We move to tab 6, contracts signed under delegation. Monthly schedule. Anything there, Dawn, did you want to comment on?
Oh, through the chair, that contract that was awarded this month is for work that's planned near the underpass on State Highway 3 or Hopo Road, looking at improvements in terms of the access for pedestrians using the underpass, and then access back across West Road. So that's the scope of work that's within that contract.
And when's that going to be completed, Dawn? Is it a long-term thing?
No, it's hoped to be completed with I believe 6 to 8 week construction period.
Thank you. Thank you.
Through you, Graham.
Yes.
Yeah. Like any chance of us seeing a diagram of the actual work that's proposed? Like it sounds like there's the crossing's going to also be part of the West Road. Yeah.
A pedestrian platform.
Yeah.
Dawn's nodding there, so I'm presuming that's available, Bruce.
A diagram of that would be great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
From my experience of being down in that area, any improvement will be welcome. It's not a very nice place to be, really. So anything will be to lighten it up and make it safer. Be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Yep, I'll make sure that those plans are shared with you today.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder for that, please.
Happy to move, Graham.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Claire. All those in favour, say aye. Again.
Aye.
Tab 7 is the Team Championship Cycling Series. Julie will be with us on that. Hi, Julie. No one there yet.
She's there, but she's muted.
Oh, Julie, can you unmute?
Sorry, I was trying Bill's suggestion of the space bar and it wasn't working.
You never want to try it in a meeting. It never really goes. Thanks, Julie. Nice to have you on board.
Just one quick bit change. That is actually now race 4 in the series, not race 5. They've had a bit of a juggle round by the look of things. So, but it's still the same dates and times. Yeah,
and the same place and everything is unchanged, yep. Julie.
Everything else is the same. Yep.
Thank you. I don't think there's going to be an issue there. No, anybody objecting to that or anything?
No, nothing's come through from the public or from emergency services.
Oh, thanks very much. Okay, well, there's recommendations A, B, and C there. Mover and a seconder, please. If someone,
I'm happy to move.
Susan. Yeah, thank you, Sue. Thank you, Andrew, for seconding. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, tab 8 is the closed circuit TV discussion program on work. Brian, are you handling this with Dawn or together or?
Yes, I'll be handling this, Graham, and
thank you very much.
Sergey's on the line also. If there's any questions about any of the camera locations or other things, you can possibly help
good morning,
out as
Sergey.
well.
Welcome to our meeting.
Good morning, everyone.
Right. So in the agenda paper, page 22, I just outlined here that this is a draft program of CCTV improvement work over the next 3 years of the LTP. And I take on board, I heard your earlier conversation about the letter, or I've got a copy of an email from Ange Holt, which is dated Monday, 18th of October, to Liz, where she was talking about the camera improvements that she has previously discussed with the wider CCTV group and the things that she wants to see. So that's not in conflict with what's in this paper. In this paper, we talk about the CCTV program of improvements that was previously put forward by the advisory group, including police and ComSafe, and which Ange and others have been involved with that group. And the reason it is still noted as a draft program of work is there's still discussions to continue on with the advisory group and with Council's CCTV technical experts to come up with the best program over the next 3 years, both to look at the improvements in operation that people want to see. So some improved clarity on playback of footage, but also those camera changes where, we've worked out over time that some of the original camera choices in particular locations are not as useful or as flexible as we'd like them to be. And so there's a plan to make some changes to make them more useful. So they might have been good for one purpose, but the cameras have proved not to be good for another purpose that the ComSafe people would also like to use them for. So hence the recommendations to change out some cameras.
Brian, could I just ask you at that particular point, in the original contract that we signed with the people that did the cameras, is there any room or any comeback from them? I mean, did they perform? Is there any grounds for us to say, well, you set this up, you told us this, but it's not what it seemed, or are we on our own at this Can you tell me that, please?
Yeah, so certainly our contractor did perform. They did meet the specifications of the contract, and on the whole, we've been very happy with their performance. I think what has happened is that with experience, we have worked out that some of our earlier choices and camera types and things like that, you know, we have changed our mind about what we want. You know, in some of the very early thinking, we put in a couple of cameras that could read number plates, thinking, well, they might be useful, they might not be. But in the ensuing 3 years, we've determined that actually having more cameras capable of reading number plates would be a good thing. And you know, police have reinforced that they'd like to see more of that. And that sort of approach is happening across the country. Waipa is not an outlier in that area. So, you know, some of our requirements have changed. So hence, you know, why we have got that advisory team back together to look at those technical requirements, drill into them and see where we can improve on the things that we do.
Yeah, and Brian, is this upgrade that we're looking to do, is it dependent on NZTA money? And if it is, are we still waiting for confirmation of money from NZTA before we proceed?
So this is, these improvement works are funded from the LTP, and it includes money that we've got confirmation now, 51% subsidy from Waka Kotahi.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Yeah. Roger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, yes, understand the distinction between what is the basic request in this paper and the ongoing operational improvements. I think the last meeting that we had on this subject, there was suggestion that a technical expert based in Auckland was going to come and zoom in to make recommendations as to how we could improve the quality of the playback requirements. Have we got a time frame on that? Because my understanding was that that was going to be treated with distinct urgency. So we should be starting to see at least some action defined in that regard.
Yep. Yes, so there is action there, Roger. We've had, as a wider group, we've had one meeting with that expert team, or there's a lot of industry experts actually on that team from different companies. So we've had one meeting as a wider group, and we've had one online meeting as a smaller technical group. And just before this meeting this morning at 8:30, Sergey and I had another short meeting with that one of those technical advisors. So we are treating that with urgency, and we're certainly looking for that additional assistance in framing these improvements and make sure that we are, everything we do from here on in, we've got a really good understanding of all of the implications of the different types of technology we use, and making sure that any new cameras we install and any work we do on whether it's the radio frequency of communications and things like that, that we're making sure we get the best quality we're able to with the type of system we have.
Yeah, all due respect to that answer, though, Brian. My question was, do we have a time frame within which we're going to see some improvements? So realise it's meetings, but at some stage we should expect to have some plan of action going forward. So can you put a time frame on that?
Yep. Well, within the next couple of weeks, we'll have that plan of action, but then how quickly we can implement it is really going to be down to, I think, COVID lockdowns and things like that, because pretty much all of our experts who do this work for us are based in Auckland.
Okay, would appreciate to see that report when you've defined that plan of action.
Yep.
And look forward to it being within a couple of weeks. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Keep going. Yep.
Sorry, Graham.
Yep. See this.
Excuse me, Graham.
Sorry, can't. Yep.
Through the chair, thank you. Really support the list of these new sites over the next few years. So that's great. With my time on the chamber previously, I mean, Leamington always felt like they've got forgotten, and I assume it's probably the same for Key as well. I'm on the Cambridge Community Safer Trust, and on our wish list, if I may just add 2 other sites, is down by the low-level bridge when you're exit and entry point going to the golf course out that way, and then out by Cambridge Park, entry and exit point out to Te Amuta as well. And I'm sure there may be some other sites around the district too that other councillors may be able to suggest, but of course it's funding and everything like that, but just that they're on our wish list as well then too. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Graham, can I just jump in here?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Hey, look, I'm chairing the CCTV advisory group, and I guess I just wanted to sort of quickly outline for councillors kind of where we're at, because we've had 2 meetings now. We were really satisfied, actually, really satisfied with where things are, and what the staff have been and what the contract has been at our last meeting. So yes, there are still some more tweaks to be made. And that was kind of the guts of, I guess, some of Angie's comments and many other comments that I've had from some of the advisory group members as well. So I just wanted to provide, some, I guess, a viewpoint from myself that things are going really well with this project. And heads up to Sergey and also to Brian. Brian, you've been, attended the last 2 meetings, and I guess bringing everyone together in the same room has really alleviated a lot of the concerns that might have been out there around technical issues. So yeah, hats off to you guys. You've moved really quickly on this item, and really great to see it on the agenda today. Generally, people are really supportive of the recommendations and the changes that you want to make, but we will continue to have these advisory meetings, and I think it would be good just to pop it on the community board agendas as well, just so they're also kept up to date. But overall, really satisfied in the direction that we're going in. So just thanks to you, Brian, and the team for your help to date.
Yeah, through the chair, if I could just support what Liz was saying. The last meeting, it was really encouraging what the feedback was from the technical people, and it felt like we did, on the whole, have the right equipment. Just some things needed tweaking a bit, but it was quite encouraging that last meeting. So
we have Susan and Claire that have want to have a say. Sue?
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Hey, just a quick question. Can you help me understand why the proposed, and I accept it's only draft at this point, but why the proposed sum for the Leamington costs are so high relative to the others? Am I right in assuming it's because kind of a green field, so to speak, in terms of installation of cameras there, or a camera there?
Yep, that's correct. It's there's no it's complete new system with power supply and fibre connection, so that is a large part of the cost is in that initial setup. The cameras are relatively cheap compared to the power and fibre connections.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that.
There's nothing there at the moment, so sorry. Yeah.
Figured that was the case.
Yeah, thanks. Just 2 minor points. The first one is that the advisory group memberships listed under the executive summary, at the start of the report. And I was surprised to see that the Te Amutu Community Board isn't part of that, because my understanding is, I know Ange Holt has been feeding through information. I know she's part of the advisory group. So why isn't the Te Amutu Community Board listed as a member? I mean, we've had a discussion last week about we're not really sure what the Te Amutu Community Board does, and here we are. We do have them involved in this, and yet they're not even mentioned.
Right. I guess that's an oversight on my part. I've just got in there representatives from council and community representatives, Chamber of Commerce. So I haven't tried to list every individual person or organisation, but certainly we've had members from both community boards attending those meetings.
And in fact, what Liz has mentioned is that the community boards are quite interested in having regular agenda items so that this is being sort of brought to them on a regular basis as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
It's good for you to clarify that. Thanks. And then the second question I had was about the financial risk considerations right at the end of the report, because it mentions that the capital projects have not yet been costed, that are going to be part of the later, I suppose, work to be done here. So have you got any idea of how much a quantum, of those dollars? And is that something that we should be concerned about?
It's not something to be concerned about. I mean, the capital projects, are often several $1 million for the intersection builds, and the camera, component of that might be about $30,000. So where we are scoping those projects, we are including into the scope the cost of the cameras.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in fact, it's sort of just be something that happens as part of that project. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, that sounds really good. Thank you very much.
Lou, did you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I certainly agree with what Claire was just saying earlier, that I think the community board, Te Awamutu Community Board, should be involved, because we have had this discussion a few times. But the big thing I wanted to talk about was I just noticed on a couple of occasions, particularly in Kiki, we're looking at two types of cameras. One is a fixed camera, and we're looking at a pedestrian crossing. And I think a pan tilt zoom is probably a better option in those sort of places, and also on Lion Street and Whitmore Street. We've found from our own experience, and we've got cameras ourselves from the RSA, that the pan tilt zoom gives us the ability to be able to track things and look into various, both sides, footpaths, etc. And I think in those sort of locations, it's probably more appropriate. So is there a big cost difference here, Brian, between pan tilt zoom and a fixed camera?
Not really. In Kiki, it's again green fields, new power supply, and fibre connection and things like that, where the main costs will be. We will, when we look at into the detail of where those cameras will be and which direction they'll look in most of the time, and everything, and we'll certainly be using the advisory group and our technical experts to work out what should be the best camera type and position. Yeah, so that's, I guess, those early indications of camera types were, around could we utilize some of the cameras that we would move from other locations, but we're not wedded to that idea. If that's not the best camera for the purpose, then we, we'll go for new ones.
Good morning, Hazel. You have a question then, Mike?
Well, yes, I do. And listening to all the comments, and thanks very much, Brian and team, for this report. But I have not got a problem with the costs of putting in these safety elements into our system. It's high time we spent a little bit more money on safety and welfare than we do at the moment. And so I just say, whatever the cost is, you get on and do it, Brian, because I, like many other residents, are fed up with having our lives at risk every time we go around that corner or we get to that pedestrian crossing. I don't even use that pedestrian crossing in Kihikihi Main Street, because I'm better to go on my own judgment further up the road. So I have no objection whatsoever to our ratepayers' money going towards our safety in the district, and not be quibbling over that.
And Brian, I've got a question. When you remove a camera, can it be used somewhere else?
Yes, we will try and do that, as long as the camera is still in good condition. These cameras, they do have a life, and when they get near to the end of their life, we won't be putting back or trying to reuse old cameras that are, only have a short remainder life.
Just, through the chair. Hey, just a couple of questions there, Brian. So again, thank you for the report and also all the comments that have come through from the councillors. So question is, when we factor into, say, new roundabout upgrades, capital works projects like that of significance, and factor in, say, put cameras in there, is Waka Kotahi still, as of right, contribute 51%? Is my first question.
Yep. So it depends really whether the capital project is funded by Waka Kotahi. If it is, then yes, some of their funding will go towards the camera. But if it's not, if it's just a straight capital project by council, then there may not be funding for it. Certainly, the funding here that we're making changes to the existing camera system and expansion of the existing camera system has got subsidy. But some of those new intersections like the C2, C3 intersection doesn't have government subsidy, so there wouldn't be a subsidy on a camera install.
Right, thanks. And just my secondary question, I think you maybe have answered it. When they come to end of life, is that cost, because like you say, the cost of the camera is actually small, but the infrastructure is the big, but is that cost of just the camera back on us in the new installation?
So future camera replacements are included in our operational expenditure budget, which is funded, 51% funded by Waka Kotahi.
Right. Thank you for that.
Thanks, guys. Any additional questions to Brian? Been a good session. Thanks, Brian.
Yes, I forgot to add one thing. Looking at that group that you've got together, Brian, and that's absolutely amazing and well done. But is there representatives there from the disabled and your senior citizens? Because they're the ones that are more likely to be that use those pedestrian crossings as much as everybody else, but their needs are a little bit different. So is there anyone there from the senior people and the disabled?
I guess
doesn't
not
look like it.
Yeah, not for the CCTV project as a whole, but certainly our urban mobility plan, which is looking at walking and cycling improvements. Then the disabled community and their voice is certainly going to be heard in that planning.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Just sometimes the positioning of these things and are they like that is really important, and probably more important to this group of people than it is to most others. They can skip out of the way of an oncoming car. We can't.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Hazel. Bruce.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Brian, does the 75,000 budget over the next 3 years, is that including subsidy, or the subsidy comes on top of it?
No, that's including subsidy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, Brian, have you got any additional? You're good to go?
No, good to go, thank you.
Great, in-depth. Thank you for answering all those questions. Okay, so recommendation there, A, that the report, program and work document of Sergei Shutov, Transportation Planning Engineer, be received. Moved it and a seconder, please. Thank you, Mike. You're on mute, Mike. Yep.
Happy to move. Yep.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second. Thanks.
Philip, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Hand up.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Okay, thanks very much, Brian. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Tab 9, we should have Martin Mould on there talking about the Cambridge Wastewater Treatment Plant. Morning, Martin.
Good morning. Can you see me?
Not at the moment, but I shall go on to
can
the
now.
speaker.
Yep.
Aha, yes.
I've appeared. Yep.
It is you.
Good morning, Chair. It is. Yeah. Good morning, Chair and councillors. So this report is a follow-up from the workshop we did on the preferred option for the Cambridge Wastewater Treatment Plant treatment options. So I won't go into too much detail, other than a quick read of the exec summary. So obviously the short-term consent was granted for the Cambridge Wastewater Treatment Plant in 2019, and the conditions of that consent require the plant to be upgraded by 2026. So we've participated in the sub-regional business case, looking at options for boundaryless approach for wastewater treatment across the southern Hamilton's southern Waikato district and Waipa DC. The outcome of this business case is indicating that a standalone plant is the most efficient solution for Cambridge. The new plant will be required to meet significantly more stringent consent conditions for the proposed new discharge. This report follows on from our council workshop on the 21st of September, which provided an overview of the 4 options identified for further modelling to determine the preferred treatment train for the new plant. An option, which was option 2, incorporating a membrane bioreactor configured for biological phosphorus removal, meets all the required criteria, minimises chemical consumption, thereby reducing risk of future cost escalations, has moderate electrical consumption, low greenhouse gas emissions, low capital cost, and low whole of life costs, and is recommended for adoption. All 4 options assess significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions when completed to those from the current wastewater treatment plant. So the presentation and the report is attached to the agenda, and there's a sort of summary of that in the report, but happy to take any questions from there.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. We had a very good hour on this with some really good searching questions. Is there any additional stuff gone in since our workshop, Martin, or any ins or outs or any changes that we should be aware of?
No over ins and outs. There's been some good questions from you all. So we're certainly looking at some of those things, and one was from Claire, was around the greenhouse gas emissions and carbon pricing to try and fund the project. So we'll certainly be looking into those options going forward.
Thank you. Roger?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Martin. A question which I can't remember if we talked about last time, but given the fact that we've adopted this particular option, and knowing that there's a limited term to the short-term consent, what's the time frame for the completion of this option against that time that we have on the consent?
Yep. So the plan is to have the treatment plant completed by 2026. It's a tall order, but we're on target at the moment. We're currently in the consent phase, so we're putting all our documents together to submit a consent by the end of or third quarter of next year. We'll have submitted our consent. In the meantime, we'll continue with the design, the detailed design of the upgrade. So we're ready to go to market as soon as we've got our consent, which will then give us a 2 to 3 year window to build, which is probably the time required to do that.
You say it's a big ask to complete it in that 5 years. What actually happens if we don't?
Then we don't meet our consent conditions and are liable to further actions from the regional council. One would assume if we're well underway and it's being built and not yet finished, then that wouldn't be too severe. But we've made promises to our stakeholders that we will have that plant running by 2026. So we want to try and keep to that promise.
Good, thanks, Martin.
Anybody else that's not on screen that wants to ask any more questions? Okay, I think we're good to go. There's a recommendation A and B to accept the report from Martin, and the service delivery approves the option 2 membrane bioreactor. So really important to get. Roger?
So move.
Happy to second, Claire.
Moved, Roger. Seconded, Lou. Lou, did you want to speak? You're on mute, Lou. Lou, you're on mute.
Really?
No, you're still on mute, Lou.
He's still muted.
Okay.
Lou, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Lou.
He sounds pretty good, eh?
If I can just interrupt, Graham, can I just confirm Roger actually moved that and Claire seconded that?
Yes,
that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think we'll press on. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, resolution to exclude the public. Mover and a seconder, please, for that. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Bruce.